we're going to just take, like I say, 15-20 minutes just to talk about why the whole email conversation is important, what to talk about in your emails, and kind of some of the technical aspects of like how to deliver the software, and just different like practical things, like how do you get your ideas into the inboxes of your people. So we're going to start with the why. Start with why, says Simon Sinek. In a nutshell, your email list, and we're going to talk, not to get too far ahead of myself, but we are going to talk about the fact that please don't be intimidated. I'm a writer. Like I did get an English degree. For me, this is my natural state, but you don't have to be a writer. If you are literate enough to get on a Zoom call, then you're literate enough to send an email, for real. So why take the time? Your email list is a relationship building tool. Yes, it's a little bit one way because you are just kind of talking, and it sometimes can just feel like you're talking out into the air. But honestly, most of the time when you send an email, at least some people will reply to you and kind of start some conversations. And the whole point is that you're opening the door by sending these somewhat regular missives. You're opening the door for people to reach out to you. And by just kind of getting into you have to be invited in. People have to sign up for your list. But by sharing who you are and just making yourself available on a semi-regular basis, it builds trust because people get to know who you are. So even if they're not quite ready to get a session with you or participate in one of your offerings, maybe you're doing workshops or what have you, they may be interested enough to keep reading about you. They may be interested enough to share something about you. They might be, well, this isn't quite for me, but my friend over here, kind of thing. And it's just that it's not an exact equation, like I'm going to write an email and this is going to happen. It's more like you're making friends. It's a sort of a widespread friend making net. And you're just kind of saying who you are over and over. But it's in a way that's really low bar, low stress. If people aren't interested, they can just hit delete or they can unsubscribe, and that's a whole other topic, but try not to let it hurt your feelings. If you do have an email list and people unsubscribe, it just means that they're not your person, and that's okay. They're going to save you money. Don't be talking to them. They're not your people. They said no thank you. But the people who stay on your list, they're like, hey, you're kind of interesting to me. I'd like to know a little bit of whatever. So relationship building is sort of the key of why you do an email list, why you make this contact over and over, is to grow that network. Then with that in mind, so let's say you've sent out 3-4 emails and you said, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I'm about, and this is a little anecdote, whatever. And then it's really natural to say, just like in any conversation, oh, and if you wanted to work with me, this is how you do it, because people get curious. They're like, well, I want to work with you. How do you do it? So this is just a really stress-free way to say, this is who I am. This is what I offer. This is how you get in touch with me if you're interested. And nobody's feelings have to get hurt if people aren't interested. It's like, no, okay, no big deal. But what really happens, especially in our oversaturated world, is that there's like kind of a long runway for most people now, where and I see this in myself, and maybe you see this in yourself. We kind of want to get to know somebody because our time and energy is pressured. So before I'll call someone up and say, hey, I want a session with you, I'd like to know a little bit about who you are. And if I get a couple of emails from you, maybe there's other things, but this is part of it. If I get a couple of emails from you and I get some communication from you and I go, oh, well, that's who you are. Oh, that's interesting to me. Then I'm much more likely to reach out. And that's just kind of how that goes. That's just human. We're more likely to reach out to someone we feel like we know a little bit. So that is what email does for you. And then once you sort of have this relationship built up, then you can say, and I'm doing this thing. So maybe you do an ongoing, maybe all you do right now is you just have sessions, but you can just say, oh, and if you wanted to get a session, this is where you sign up. Or like, let's say you just like, for the month of April, I'm going to be, you offer some kind of incentive of some kind, whatever it is, a discount or what have you. You can say, that's where you say it. You say it on your email list. Hey, if you've been thinking about working with me, now's, whatever your maybe your offer is sending it through your email list is just, oh, here comes Laura, hold on, letting somebody in. Anyway, you start building your relationship through the email sending pathway. And then it's just an easy in when you do have something going on. You're not just like yelling to a room of strangers. You're telling people who know you, oh, I made a thing, you might be interested. And kind of takes the static out of it. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. And some of the people on your list will be interested. That actually, percentage wise, it's usually 5 to 10% of the people on your list will be interested in something that you put out. So if you have 100 people on your list, about 5 will be like, oh, that's cool. So if you have 1,000 people on your list, about 50 will say, oh, that's interesting. It's just kind of just numbers for all kinds of reasons. The third reason why it's worth your time and effort to build your email habit is what's called in marketing staying top of mind, which I was like, oh God, am I really going to write that? But it's really, I mean, that's really the best way to say it. Basically, someone's like, oh, I'm not feeling that good. I've had this back issue with these headaches. I can't sleep. What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just, and then they get an email from you and you're like, oh, by the way, I do this, I do this work, and you maybe tell a little story and it's about how someone's back pain cleared up. And then they go, oh, wait a minute. How about that? They already have heard from you. They're already familiar with you. Maybe they have or have not signed up with you before, but they get reminded. So that's why we do it. It's just relationship building, really, and a clean way to share what's going on. Whoops. I want to turn my page. There we go. So that's our why. And when I'm on the other side of this, we'll open up if you guys want to unpack any of this, ask any questions or what have you. I mean, this is a very dense subject. This is a bullet point version, but I'm hoping it'll be helpful for you. The what. So again, I'm comfortable writing, but if you told me that to build my business, I had to do a bunch of bookkeeping, I would be very unhappy because I don't do numbers. I'm pretty good with words, but I'm terrible at numbers. So if you're the other way around, if you're really comfortable with numbers, but not so good with words, or you think that about yourself, then rest assured, this is not, you don't have to be some kind of brilliant writer for this. In fact, I've seen more and more where people are sending videos. So like if you're comfortable sending a video or even an audio, or pictures, or just really short little things, it does not have to be some brilliant thing. And in fact, the truth is, like when I send emails, they run a little long and people like short better. We have very short attention spans at this point. So if you've got 4 sentences to go, hi, I'm doing a thing. This is the coupon code. Good to see you. Goodbye. I mean, mission accomplished. It's really just an opportunity to say hello. That's it. So you can keep it very, very simple. This does not have to be dazzling. You do not have to be a master writer. It's, it's fun if you get into this and you want to, like, there's a lot, you can go deep with this if you want, but you don't have to. There are many, many ways to learn more about copywriting, but it's not necessary. It's really the foundation is saying hello. But what people do love is stories. So if you want to keep it simple and don't really know what to say, a story. Including, without using names, client stories are great, like, hey, the other day a person came in and this happened, I thought that was pretty neat. If you want to work with me, boop, it can just be that simple. Or your own stories, which I tend to write more about my own stories, just for whatever reason, but things you're thinking about or that you've discovered or you've experienced. Like people just like stories. We like stories from each other. But keep in mind that if you're more comfortable taking a video, or, I mean, I guess you could do audio, and let's see why. In fact, actually, I have seen that now that I'm thinking about it, where people just put a little audio clip, especially people. Yeah, anyway, you can put any kind of media in there in your email. It does not have to be written. It's really just a way to communicate. So if you really hate writing, there's other alternatives. But just keep in mind, your aim is to build relationship just introduce yourself repeatedly. Again, some people will start, replying to you and like building it back and forth, but at the very least, you're saying, here I am, here I am, here I am. And somebody's listening. And then from that place, then you can start sharing like your stuff that you're up to. What people don't like, and what I'm sure that you don't like either, is when someone comes out of the clear blue sky and starts trying to sell you something. That people don't like. So it's a good idea when you as you're getting started, if you don't already have an email list, like share a couple emails first, just basically about who you are and saying hello and why you're, and of course, you need to get people's permission to email them. That's a law. And then you want to like connect, I mean, just the same as if you were in person. If you just ran up to somebody at a party and started sticking your business cards in their shirt pocket, they'd be like, what? And it's the same thing. I mean, when you're getting to know people. So start off being helpful, start off being open-hearted, start off just kind of talking about what you're about. I personally love emails that are like the 10 weird things about me and that kind of stuff. Like I will open those every single time personally. I just love those because I love that people are weird. So, and then somebody might say, and guess what? I have this workshop coming up and I am going to be more inclined to go investigate that. So that's my personal thing. But again, it goes back to the fact that what we're really looking for is connection, story, the human dynamic. And this is really a way to do it. It seems like it's email and it's distant and it's computers but it's really, you're talking, it's just remote. You're talking to people. With that in mind, so you want to build your email list. And here's where we'll talk about a little bit about what that'll look like. And just keep in mind that it does not have to be difficult. It's really about consistency more than anything else, which is something I sometimes personally, that's something I'll struggle with because I don't always keep it simple. And then I'm like, oh, I have to write something brilliant. And then 3 months goes by. So don't do that because that's not very helpful, actually. So it's better to like just set your calendar and just even once a month, just be reaching out to people regularly, just so that they're like, oh, there you are. And there you are. It does build trust. And maybe you see this yourself with the people that you get emails from. If somebody blows up my inbox and then I don't hear from them for 9 months and then they write to me again, I'm like, who are you? What is this person? And if somebody, as opposed to if somebody like just regularly says, okay, and here I am, I just personally feel more relaxed about someone saying, oh, there they are again. I may or may not be interested in their topic that day, but I have a pleasant feeling. Whereas people who just bombard and then vanish, I personally don't resonate very well with that. And I don't think I'm alone. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the technological delivery of email. I will just seg to say this is one part of an overall. I mean, you're in practice. You're going to be building connections and communication pathways in a bunch of different ways with people. This is one of them, but it's a really steady, reliable one. People keep their emails for a long time. People look forward to emails. Like it's unlike social media, which is like, you can put a ton of work into something that somebody looks at like for a flash. Emails have a little bit more staying power. But that said, this is part of your overall connecting strategy with people, but it's an important one. So if you're just getting started and you're trying to keep your costs manageable, it can be, or you think that you're intimidated by technology, which it can be intimidating. It might be tempting to think, well, I'll just email everybody. I will just get on my Gmail and send everybody an email. So there's a couple reasons. I kept actually put this like on the end of the little slide here, but let's just start there. Why not to just send stuff from your Gmail account? If you just CC 20 people and you write an email and CC 20 people, two things are likely to trip you up. One is that especially Google is very spam sensitive, and a lot of people have Google and Microsoft products, and they're very, very spam sensitive. And so like I think Google is 20 people, and it'll mark it like, nope, that's just junk. And then nobody sees your email that you've put together because it goes straight into their spam folder. And I don't know about you, but I don't even know when things go into my spam. I'm not checking my spam folder, like whatever. It's like once a year I look at my spam folder because someone said, oh, go look in your spam folder. So it goes in the spam folder. You might as well not even sent it. So just sending it from your own personal email address and sending it to a bunch of people at once can get it just sidelined so that nobody sees it. The other thing that's less likely, but if it happens, it's a bummer, is if you mean to BCC everybody so that they don't see, so that all the email addresses aren't visible, but you accidentally CC people, you can violate privacy laws, first of all. It's irritating. It's potentially a problem for people that may not want to be sharing their email. So email addresses are need to be held in great respect. This is really people's identity. It's part of it's valuable to individuals. And so if somebody if someone gives us that information, we need to treat it with care. And so just using our personal email accounts, I hope I'm making my case here. Using your personal email account can get pretty easily, your email can get lost, and or the information can be, the word is escaping me, but you can lose confidentiality. You can violate confidentiality with people pretty easily. So you don't want to do that. So that's why, as soon as possible, if you embrace the email, and I hope you do, I really strongly recommend that you get a software, a list building software. Now, again, I will just say, I'm not really afraid of technology. I'm less afraid, I realize as time goes by, than others. I'm not a genius or anything, but I'm kind of like that personally, like I will just go on Google and sort of figure it out. But I understand that many people are not that way. So the recommendation I'm making is, if you want to try this out, I would start with MailChimp. There are some good ones. There's ConvertKit is pretty easy too. Constant Contact is pretty easy too. There's other ones. I personally use MailChimp, and I've played around with many of them, like the major ones. And the reason that I use MailChimp and why I recommend it to people who are getting started is, first of all, it's free up to 500 people. So until you have 500 people on your email list, you don't have to pay for it, which is nice. You don't get all the services and features and fancy pants stuff, but you can send an email, which is the point. And it has things that even on the free version, I think I wrote, you can tag and automate. You can't automate on the free version. You can't like set it up ahead of time so that when this happens, you send that email, but you may not want to anyway. But you can right away put tags on people. So you can say, oh, these are the people who went to my access class, and these are the people who saw me for a session, and these are the people who we go to flower shows with. Whatever, whatever's on your list, so that then you're like, ooh, there's going to be an access class next to a flower show. I should tell people. You can pick those people and send an email to them, which is just nice. It's not very difficult. It's just a nice feature. And again, it's free up to 500 people. It's easy to learn. They have tutorials. If you decide to go with any email software and you're not already doing it, you can, if you set aside an hour of your life to sit down, go through the tutorials, try it out, figure out where you're stuck, figure that out, you should have it. And that's true, I would say, also for ConvertKit and Constant Contact. Those are ones I personally used, but I just find MailChimp to be the easiest. I've switched away from it and I've come back to it. It's the easiest and it's the most versatile. And then if you spend a little bit of money, it has a whole bunch of other features that can come in really handy, like automations. So landing pages and other things like that, but whatever. But just to send people an email, it's a good place to start. Another thing to just keep in mind is if you use a website builder like Squarespace or Wix, I always try to think of the Microsoft people because of Vanessa. I don't know what the Microsoft, if they have a software builder or website builder like that, but a lot of times they have an option to build an email list that's just ties right in with your website. So it's something to think about. If you're growing, if you're building a website and it's on something like Squarespace or Wix, those are the two kind of most common ones.
Robin, just
yes.
a quick thought on that. Wix is actually linked into Microsoft, and it does have all the Power Automate where you can do all of that. So if anyone has got that, it is there. And what Wix does, because my website's on Wix, is I've got, if someone goes onto my website, onto the website, there's a button that they can, if they click a certain button, I'll get their email, but then they've already opted in for that anyway. So Wix does do that. It builds it for you in the background.
Okay. All right.
If anyone wants to know more, they can have, yeah, you guys can have a chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, I've just been using Wix myself, which I usually use Squarespace. You know, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like you just get used to your thing, but Wix is pretty easy to use. And so if all of these tech things, I'd like to say that we could have healthy, thriving practices without taking on technology, but I don't think it's possible. I'm going to kind of stand by that. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but it's a whole lot harder. So taking a little bit of time and being prepared to be uncomfortable a little bit and tapping out your cortices while you go through it, to learn a little bit of familiarity with these tools pays off. It really just makes your life easier, because then what happens is, like, so when I go to send out these emails saying Booster Zoom is tomorrow, that's through MailChimp, and I have it all set up. There's a template that's already like set, and all I have to do is just go into this one little area and change a few little things, and you can test it. So you just so you read it first, because in fact, I think I always find something I want to change before I hit send. But the whole process I can do in 10 minutes. Whereas because it's already all set up, because I took the time already in my life to learn the tool. So it's worthwhile. And of course, you guys are all like super smart and everything, but I'm sharing this because I know this can be a thing that can be intimidating, you know, like, I don't get it. But the thing I'm finding, especially as time goes on, is that tools, all these kind of software tools are getting more and more accessible, getting easier for people to learn and use, because people are using it. It's not just like, you know, tech nerds. Like, these are regular people trying to run a body talk practice. They just want to send people an email. So in conclusion on this little part, yeah, I strongly recommend that you send emails on a regular basis to connect with your people, and that it's better to send them regularly and just don't stress about it than to send dazzling things occasionally, and use the tools that are available, because they really make your life easier. And then you can spend your energy doing sessions or taking classes or learning body talk or whatever else you want to do. Go fishing, anything else. Once you've learned it, you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel over and over. So I think that is what I was hoping to share with you today about emailing. I will open it up for questions here. I did want to point out on our farewell slide that we are gathered here tonight. That I just want you guys to understand that the Body Talk Booster Zoom is because of the PNW BTA. And this is one of the things that we are really putting our heads together. I feel like we say this a lot, but to develop ways to help everybody have a successful practice, and this is one of them. So I hope it was useful. And now I will stop my share and open up for any questions, if anyone has any questions or comments or anything along those lines.